If you're of a certain age in this country, you might very well remember a time where there was a very real threat of nuclear war between the United States and the former Soviet Union. Both were two major nuclear powers, and the fear and pandemonium that descended upon both populations that either would use their weapons on the other created an environment of panic, fear, and everything on both populations. But what if I told you that President Ronald Reagan and his military devised a proposed solution that could eliminate the threat of Russian nuclear missiles to the United States and do it all from space? Well, that was how it was planned. Not sure if it worked out quite well or not. You'll have to find out later by staying tuned to this video. We're talking about the ultimate Star Wars right here on this episode of Misunderstood History. The United States and the former Soviet Union were involved in a decades-long, insane arms and space race for much of the 20th century. And this quickly devolved into sort of constant fear, panic, and pandemonium that either side would use their missiles on each other, thus ensuring just the total end of humanity. Nuclear weapons were first invented and used by the United States. They were developed in World War II during this program called the Manhattan Project.
Okay, let's take a quick word on the Manhattan Project. In 1939, U.S. scientists urged President Franklin Roosevelt to establish a program to study the potential military use of nuclear fission, and thus became the Manhattan Project. Unfortunately, it was very successful and later used in 1945 in Japan, when Harry Truman believed that the bomb would help persuade Japan to surrender without requiring an American invasion. And so it thus dropped the first atomic bomb on the town of Hiroshima, killing 70,000 people. And then 3 days later, another bomb was dropped on the town of Nagasaki.
And regretfully, the United States did use 2 of these atomic bombs on 2 cities in Japan during that time. Now, from that time, all major world powers sought to obtain these powerful, very destructive weapons. And basically, it caused this crazy nuclear arms race and something referred to as nuclear proliferation, or the absolute excess of these massively destructive weapons between the United States and the Soviet Union. Now, one of the key tenets of maintaining world order was something referred to as mutually assured destruction. The concept basically means that between the advanced alert systems that each side had and the fact that if one side launched a nuclear missile, the other side could detect it and launch their own counter missile within minutes, basically ensuring the destruction of all civilization, each side would sort of realize that and stay in their own lanes and not touch or use their weapons. But for some people, that wasn't enough. For America, they wanted to get the upper hand on the Soviets. And they did that by wanting to develop something that could actually make the world safer for the United States citizens and ideally for the world.
What if free people could live secure in the knowledge that their security did not rest upon the threat of instant U.S. retaliation to deter a Soviet attack, that we could intercept and destroy strategic ballistic missiles before they reached our own soil or that of our allies? I know this is a formidable technical task, one that may not be accomplished before the end of this century. I call upon the scientific community in our country, those who gave us nuclear weapons, to turn their great talents now to the cause of mankind and world peace, to give us the means of rendering these nuclear weapons impotent and obsolete.
So how exactly would this SDI system have worked? Well, imagine that the Soviet Union had hundreds of missiles pointed at the United States. Meanwhile, the United States, as part of the SDI program, had launched a lot of satellites into space and also their space-based weapons into space. So when a nuclear weapon was launched from the Soviet Union, it would be met with an armed array of space-based X-ray lasers and satellites that would detect and deflect any nukes headed toward the United States. So exactly what kind of energy-directed weapons would have been utilized here? Well, if you look at the report to the American Physical Society of the Study Group on Science and Technology of Directed Energy Weapons, This is a study of all the weapons programs done back in the mid-80s that would have been part of this program, and it talks about their feasibility. So exactly what's in here? Well, you've got stuff like lasers, chemical lasers, electronic transition oxygen and iodine lasers, excimer lasers, free electron lasers, X-ray lasers, and gamma rays. Then you have particle beams. You have a laser-guided electron particle beams. You've got neutral particle beams, and other particle beam concepts are in here. Then you have beam control and delivery, where they talk about the material interactions and its lethality, and the acquisition, tracking, and discrimination of these weapons. This whole report basically goes into each concept as part of the SDI program and actually shows you why they call this a $30 billion waste of money over the course of 10 years. And in fact, Bill Clinton scrapped the program in 1993.
Although the program was ultimately not successful, many of the technologies theorized in the concepts are now reality. What has been really helpful in this sort of decades-long push for nuclear non-proliferation, it's been helpful that there's been this treaty put in place called the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or commonly known as the Non-Proliferation Treaty, or the NPT, which is an international treaty whose objective is to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and weapons technologies and to promote cooperation in the peaceful use of nuclear energy. It is an understatement to say that the Cold War was definitely a time of intense fear between the United States and the Soviet Union, and that nuclear missiles are just an insane burden on our society. The fact that any one person can utilize these missiles and destroy a civilization is just definitely scary. This was an intense time in our history and a time that we hope to never repeat again. Hey, but I really want to thank you for watching this video and learning a little bit more about the Strategic Defense Initiative, otherwise known as Star Wars. We look forward to seeing your comments down below and to seeing suggestions from you as well on what to make future videos about. So leave your comments down below, like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. This has been Misunderstood History. Bye-bye.